21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein. Well, who got bitten? Owl? 4. Where's the dog?
You are in the muster room at the
there?
21st Precinct, the nerve center. A call is coming through. You will follow the action taken pursuant to that call from this minute until the final report is written in the 124 room at the 21st Precinct.
All right. You just wait right there in the emergency room. Yes, right there. I'll have an officer come over. Yes. Right away.
21st Precinct. It's just lines on a map of the city of New York. Most of the 173,000 people wedged into the 9/10 of a square mile between Fifth Avenue and the East River wouldn't know if you asked them if they lived or worked in the 21st. Whether they know it or not, the security of their homes, their persons, and their property is the job of the men of the 21st Precinct.
21st Precinct, 160 patrolmen, 11 sergeants, and 4 lieutenants, of whom I'm the boss. My name is Kennelly, Frank Kennelly. I'm captain in command of the 21st. It was 3:55 p.m. when I came into the precinct house for my night tour, which would keep me on the job until 8 the following morning. As I signed the blotter, Sergeant Burns, who was filling in as desk officer, told me that acting superintendent of buildings of the department was in the house making a routine inspection. After I turned out the platoon, I went upstairs and found the acting superintendent of buildings on the 3rd floor. I called his attention to the cracked plaster in the hall ceiling on that floor and to the fact that during the last winter the radiators failed to heat the floor comfortably. On the way down, I showed him the worn condition of the stairs from the 2nd floor to the back room, and as we came out into the muster room, I told him about the plumbing difficulties in the cells.
Well, thanks, Captain.
Do you have any idea when these repairs will be made?
Well, there's a lot of work to do, Captain. There's nearly 100 buildings in the department, and most of them need work, lots of work.
Oh, yes, I understand that, but some need attention sooner than others, don't you think?
Oh, yes, some do. That's why I'm making the inspection.
Well, this muster room, for instance, it hasn't been painted since 1941. Did you realize that?
Captain, you know I'd like to do everything, and I'd like to do it right away, but there's been only so much money appropriated. Well, it's been a pleasure, Captain. Sign the blotter and get on my way. A little bit behind schedule. I still have to visit the 23rd this afternoon.
Where were you? Mr. Balney wants to sign the blotter, Sergeant Burns. Step on around the back of the desk, Mr. Balney.
Right over here, Mr. Balney. Well, thank you, Captain.
That one's got whiskers. I used to use it myself. Bring it on time.
What's doing, Sergeant?
Oh, nothing much, Captain, except that young fellow over there is waiting to see you.
Who is he, do you know?
He says his name is Weald, Harold Weald. Said it was personal. I told him you were busy. He said he'd wait. He wouldn't tell either me or Sergeant Burns what was on his mind. Excuse me, Captain.
Yeah, go ahead.
21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein. Well, thanks for all your courtesies, Captain. I'll try to get something done, I promise you that.
Oh, sure. What, ma'am? Absolutely necessary, Mr. Balney, that we get sufficient heat up on the 3rd floor. No one can work up there.
Listen, madam. Oh, it's a long time until winter.
Please, madam. Yes, it was a long time since last winter, too. That's when I reported.
Madam, you have my word, Captain. There'll be someone here within 2 weeks.
That's a civil action, madam. If he owes you money, we can't collect it. You better see your lawyer.
I'll talk to that fellow that's waiting, Sergeant. Yes, sir.
If you can't afford a lawyer, go to the Legal Aid Society. The Legal Aid Society.
Mr. Weald?
Yes, that's right. Captain Connolly?
Kennelly.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Well, what can I do for you?
Well, listen, Captain, I'm sorry to bother you, but I got an awful problem. It's my kid.
Well, what's the trouble?
Well, she got bit by a dog.
When was this?
Friday morning.
Where?
In the playground there, 62nd Street, York Avenue.
How old is she?
4. She's 4.
Excuse me, Captain.
Yes?
Division captain is calling in for you.
Oh, all right. Thanks, Sergeant. I'll take it in my office.
Yes, sir.
Come in, Mr. Weald.
Yeah, thanks. My mother takes her to the playground almost every day.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Have a seat there.
I didn't think there was anything to it.
Excuse me a minute.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Captain Kennelly. Hello, Denny. Oh, just fine. When? Well, just a second. Let me look at my chart. Yeah, I'm working Monday. Where? All right, I'll be there. Okay, so long. How'd you happen to get bitten, Mr. Weald?
Well, I wasn't there personally. I was working.
Mm-hmm. What do you do?
Me, I'm a driver for the Ace Taxis. I should be on the job now, but I thought I'd better take off the afternoon and get this straightened out. Yeah?
How bad was the bite?
Well, bad enough, I guess. He got her in the thigh, He really dug in.
Did she get medical treatment?
Oh, yeah. My wife said the lady with the dog was very nice. Janet, that's my wife. She got kind of excited at first, but the doctor fixed it up, said nothing serious. So I forgot the whole thing, until I got a call from my wife this afternoon.
Uh-huh. What happened then?
Well, my wife was all excited. She called my dispatcher, left word for me to call her. When I did, she said somebody had been around from the Board of Health. Told her they couldn't get hold of the lady with the dog, and if they didn't by tomorrow morning, she'd have to bring the kid down for rabies shots. There's 22 shots. It takes 22 days.
Well, where does the woman with the dog live? In this precinct?
I don't know whether it's in this precinct. It's Mrs. Charles Whitney, 190 Sutton Place North.
That's in this precinct, yes.
So I took a walk over there before. It's a big apartment house, very expensive. I started to go in. The doorman asked me who I wanted, so I told him the whole story. Mm-hmm. He buzzed up to the apartment. There wasn't any answer. He told me a policeman had been around 2 or 3 times today and the day before. The policeman couldn't find anybody there either. Is he from here, that policeman?
Yes, that's right. In dog bite cases, there's a 480V notice to be served on the owner.
Mm-hmm.
A notice to deliver the dog to the ASPCA for observation.
Well, anyway, I got to talking to the doorman, and he said he thought sure somebody was home because the elevator man heard the dog barking in the apartment when he went up there on the floor for something else this afternoon.
Oh, is that so?
Well, I'm only going by what the doorman said the elevator man said. Now, look, the lady was very nice, but I don't want my kid to go through any 22 shots. What's more important, the dog or the kid?
What do you think, Mr. Wheel?
Well, I know what I think. The important thing is what you think. That Mrs. Whitney, her husband, is a big-shot judge, the doorman told me.
You sit here, Mr. Wheel.
Well, I'll sit here, but is that going to get me action? That's what I want, action.
That's what you're going to get. I'll be right back. Sergeant Burns.
Yes, Captain.
What are you doing about a 480V on the dog bite case?
All right. Is that this one on Sutton Place North, Captain?
Yes, that's the one. What are you doing about it?
Well, it's still hanging, Captain. Lieutenant Snyder said he had a man go by there 3 times during the day tour. There's nobody home.
Well, did they go upstairs and see?
I don't know about that, Captain. He just said it was still hanging. They haven't been able to serve it. I gave it to Singleton and told him to try as soon as he got over there. You know who that is? That's Judge Charles Whitney.
Yes, I know. Now, listen, the father of the child the dog bit is in my office. He's been told to bring the child down to start a series of 22 rabies injections beginning tomorrow morning, unless that dog is delivered today.
There doesn't seem to be anybody home, Captain.
Well, the father says the doorman told him there was somebody home. Now, get on it.
Yes, sir.
I went back into my office and told Mr. Wheel, the father of the dog bite victim, that we would make a further effort to serve the 480V notice on the owner of the dog. I advised him to return to his home and promised that we would notify him later concerning any results we obtained. Patrolman Singleton rang in and reported that he again went to 190 Sutton Place North and attempted to reach the occupants of the Whitney apartment by the house phone. There was no answer. He left a copy of the notice with the doorman. He was instructed to go upstairs and knock on the door. In the meantime, I read and signed such reports as had accumulated since I was last on duty and placed them in the box to be sent by messenger to division headquarters. At 10 minutes to 5, I went back out into the muster room and walked over to the desk.
He's trying to reach the judge at his office, Captain.
Good. Sergeant Klein, did Singleton ring in again?
No, sir, not yet. Judge Charles Whitney's office, please. I thought this might be the quickest way to get some information, Captain.
Well, it might be, yes.
Hello? This is Sergeant Burns at the 21st Precinct. Is Judge Whitney there, please? Oh, is he? Oh, I see. Well, when? Well, thank you very much. Oh, did Mrs. Whitney go with him? Yes, I see. Well, thank you very much. He's out of town, Captain.
Yeah?
He went to Boston for the American Bar Association convention. Secretary expects him back tonight. He's flying in.
Did Mrs. Whitney go with him?
No, sir, not that his secretary knows of. As far as his secretary knows, Mrs. Whitney's at home.
I see. Look up the telephone number of their apartment and call over there.
Yes.
21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein.
Their phone might not be listed, though.
Yes, Singleton. What'd you find out?
Is that Singleton, Sergeant?
Hold on. Yes, sir, it's Singleton.
All right, let me talk to him.
Take it right there, Captain. Hold on, Singleton.
This is Captain Kennelly.
Yes, sir.
Did you serve that notice?
No, sir.
Oh, did you go up to the floor?
Yes, sir.
What happened?
Well, I knocked on the door, Captain. There wasn't any answer. Then I heard that dog bark inside. I knocked again. Finally, she came and talked to me through the door.
Who came?
Mrs. Whitney, Captain.
Oh, wouldn't she open the door?
No, sir. I told her I had the notice to serve on her to deliver the dog for observation. She said she wouldn't give up the dog. She wouldn't open the door.
Did you explain to her that the Department of Health just has to examine the dog, that they won't molest or mistreat the animal?
Yes, sir, but she refused to open the door.
Where are you calling from now?
The lobby of the apartment building.
All right. You stay there. I'll be right over.
Yes, sir.
Sergeant.
Yes, sir?
Put out a call for a car to come by the house for me.
Yes, sir, Captain.
She's there, huh, Captain?
She's there, yes. So's the dog. She wouldn't open the door.
CB, is this
Well, did she say why she wouldn't, Captain?
No, that's what I'm going over to find out.
What if she still refuses?
Okay.
You get a warrant to go in and get the dog.
That won't look very nice. Cops break down judge's door. Some headline.
Is this better? 4-year-old girl takes 22 anti-rabies injections. No headline.
You are listening to 21st Precinct, a factual account of the way police work in the world's largest city.
When you apply...
And now back to 21st Precinct and Captain Frank Kennelly.
The disease of rabies is almost extinct. This is due almost entirely to the cooperation between police and public health authorities and the strict enforcement of the laws relating to dog bite cases. These laws call for the compulsory observation of dogs and other animals who are carriers of the disease after they have bitten, and for compulsory treatment of human victims bitten by an animal that has escaped. The fact that the disease is now rare does not lessen the strictness of enforcement. The idea is to keep it rare. At 5:05 p.m., the car came by the station house and drove me to 190 Sutton Place North, a new apartment building in the high rent classification. As we drove up, I saw Patrolman Singleton on the sidewalk in front of the building. A man was standing there talking with him. All right, wait for me here.
Hello, Captain.
Singleton?
Captain, this is Mr. Tedburn. He's the super of the building. The resident manager.
Mr. Tedburn?
How do you do?
You've been waiting down here since you rang in, Singleton?
Yes, sir. I really don't see what's all the excitement, Captain.
Don't you?
The Whitneys are respectable people. He's an important judge. To have policemen running through the halls over something like this, it's ridiculous.
Mr. Tedburn, I've just been talking to the father of the girl who was bitten by that dog. If that dog isn't delivered for observation, that 4-year-old girl will have to start a series of 22 injections. Is that ridiculous?
Well, I just want to save embarrassment is all.
There's no embarrassment on our account. If she'd accept service with the notice, everything would be very quiet and simple. What kind of dog is it, Singleton?
Well, the doorman told me a boxer, Captain. That is right, a boxer.
Big fellow, hmm?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go up.
Yes, sir. Do you mind if I come along also?
I'd be glad to have you, Mr. Tedburn. You can see that we don't embarrass anyone. The doorman held the door open for us, and we walked into the foyer of the building. It was decorated in black and white. On the elevator, Singleton directed the operator to take us to the 14th floor. When we got off, Mr. Tedburn led the way to apartment 14B. No one was in the hall. Either the neighbors on the floor didn't know what was going on, or they didn't care.
This is it. Shall I ring, Captain?
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. There it is.
Try again.
Yes, sir.
This is Whitney. We're police officers. We want to talk to you.
It is a wonder the neighbors haven't complained about that dog. He certainly does raise the roof, doesn't he?
This is Whitney.
You know, Captain, I'm beginning to more and more see this thing from your point of view.
Are you?
Under these circumstances, I think I have a right to use my passkey. Oh, she's got on the door chain.
Quiet.
There she is.
Yes.
Mrs. Whitney, please.
Wait, close the door, please.
I want to talk to you, Mrs. Whitney.
You can't take him. I won't let you.
I'm not going to take him. I want to talk to you, that's all.
Jeff, quiet. Now, come on.
Where's she going? I don't know. She's coming back. She wants to put the dog in the other room.
I want you to shut the door and let me alone.
You don't seem to understand the seriousness of this, Mrs. Whitney.
You want to take Jeff away.
I don't want to take him away.
He's all we've got. Jeff's all we've got. We have no family, just Jeff, that's all.
I'm not going to take him away. I just have to give you this notice. Singleton.
Oh, yes, sir. Here it is.
I want you to take this, Mrs. Whitney.
No, I won't.
It's a notice to deliver your dog to the ASPCA by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Well, I'll take it, but I won't deliver him. I won't. You can't have him. He's the only thing I've got left. The only thing.
All right. Let's shut the door. Thank you, Mrs. Whitney.
I won't.
Do you think she will bring that dog down there?
I don't. She's been served with the notice. Okay, Singleton, get back on the job.
Yes, sir. People can live in a building 20 years, and you never know they ever existed. 20 years.
Hit that elevator bell, will you, Singleton?
Yes, sir. Then a little thing like this can cause so much trouble.
It's always the little things that cause trouble, Mr. Tedburn. People seem to manage the big ones. We rode down in the elevator. I thanked Mr. Tedburn for his assistance and came out of the building with Singleton. He resumed walking his post, and I got into the car and went back to the precinct house. There, as the officer who served the 480V form on Mrs. Whitney, I filled in the lower half and delivered it to the desk officer to be forwarded to the Bureau of Preventable Diseases, Department of Health. Sergeant Burns told me that Patrolman Mercado had come upon a boy, 17, in the act of turning in a false alarm. He chased him up the stairs of a tenement and over the roofs of 3 adjacent buildings before he was apprehended. The boy admitted turning in at least 5 false alarms during the last month. I went on patrol of the precinct, during which I stopped on post number 2, saw Patrolman Mercado, and congratulated him on the arrest. Later, while I was still on patrol, there was a radio signal to call in. He stopped at the nearest box, and I was told by Sergeant Klein that a visitor was waiting for me, Judge Charles Whitney. I had my operator drive me around to the precinct house. When I got out of the car, I instructed him to pick up his partner, who had been taking his meal period, and resume patrol. As the car drove away, I crossed the sidewalk and walked up into the muster room. Hello, Sergeant.
Captain. 21st Precinct, Sergeant
Where's
Klein.
the judge?
I suggested the judge wait in your office, Captain.
Good.
All right.
Oh, what's doing, Sergeant?
Oh, it's been a quiet tour, Captain.
All right, I'll be in my office.
Yes, sir. 21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein. Open the what?
Judge Whitney?
Oh, hello, Captain. We've met before, haven't we?
Yes, I think so, at some dinner.
Oh, yeah.
Well, sit down, Judge.
Thank you. I just got into LaGuardia from Boston an hour ago.
Yes, sir, I know.
I understand you were over to the apartment, Captain.
Yes, that's right. We were there. And I'm sorry if we found it necessary to be a little insistent with Mrs. Whitney, but I don't have to tell you the law in these dog bite cases, Judge. If I wasn't able to effect service the way I did, I would have been required to get a warrant and break the door down. I hope you were able to explain that to Mrs. Whitney.
Captain, I haven't been able to explain anything to Mrs. Whitney. She wouldn't open the door for me either.
Wouldn't she?
No. I came home from the airport and went upstairs and tried my key, and she had the chain on the door. Wouldn't open it. Wouldn't even talk to me. Building manager came upstairs and told me what had happened.
Well, I'm sorry, Judge.
Well, it's not your fault, Captain. I don't blame you. I should have seen it coming. Perhaps I even knew it was coming, and I couldn't bring myself to believe it.
What's that, sir?
A breakdown. I should have seen it the night I left for Boston. It was the same night that Jeff bit the child.
Oh?
Hey, he's a boxer, you know, so we named him James J. Jeffries, Jeff for short.
Mm-hmm.
I told her before I left that she would probably be called upon to deliver the dog for observation. And I should have seen from her attitude then that this was going to happen. I was in a hurry to catch the plane. She was all right until then. I understand she was fine when the dog bit the child, that she took the mother and the child to the emergency room, paid the bill, so forth.
Yes, that's the report we got, too.
But the minute I mentioned the possibility she might have to turn Jeff over for observation, she changed.
What was the reason for the change, you know, Judge?
Yes, I do. I think I do.
See, Captain, we had two sons, Richard and Charles, Jr. They were a year and a half apart, 19 and 20. They were in school at Yale. Last June, they were driving down to New York after school. Their car turned over on the Merrick Parkway. They were both killed. Both of them.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Judge.
If you have children of your own, you can imagine what it did to us. We went away, but that didn't help. Nothing helped. For myself, I found escaping my work. A judge can work hard, you know, and I did. But Nora didn't have anything like work. I suppose she turned to the dog. Jeff was the boy's dog. When she saw the possibility that she'd lose the dog, that brought it on. I'm sure that's the answer.
Well, it probably is, yes, sir.
She wouldn't even open the door. She doesn't even trust me.
If I'd have known what the circumstances were, perhaps we could have used some other means.
There wasn't any way for you to know, Captain. I'm not worried about that now. She's locked up in there alone. That's what I'm worried about. I don't know what's preying on her mind.
Well, if you want to go into the apartment, Judge, I can call the emergency squad to give us a hand. They have a way with doors, you know.
But it's only as a last resort. No, I'd like to try persuasion some more. I had the door open this wide, the same as you did. I called to her. She wouldn't answer. I couldn't think of anything else to say or do. I came over here. Do you have any ideas, Captain, besides the emergency squad?
Well, perhaps I have one, just one. It might work. I don't know.
Anything, Captain. I'm willing to try anything.
Judge Whitney was a forlorn-looking man as I left him sitting in my office and walked out into the muster room. I gave Sergeant Klein instructions to have a car drive around to the precinct house to pick us up. Also, I told him to have sector car number 1 go to the home of Harold Weald, the father of the dog bite victim. They were instructed to locate Mr. Weald and ask if he would accompany them to 190 Sutton Place North. The car came by to drive Judge Whitney and myself to his apartment house. We rode the elevator to the 14th floor in silence.
Is this way, Captain?
Yes, I know.
Oh, of course you do. Well,
I'd suggest you try your key again, Judge.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Still on the chain. Nora! Nora!
Why don't you try calling the dog? If he comes to the door, maybe she will, too.
Yes, that's a good idea. Jeff, boy. Hey, Jeff. Hey, Jeff. Hey, Jeff. Come on, Jeff. Usually comes when I call him, Captain.
Well, I think she has him in the back with the door closed. That's where she had him before.
Nora. Please come to the door, Nora. Please. Nora.
Let me try.
Mrs. Whitney. Mrs. Whitney.
All right, wait, you're right.
One new man, Captain.
Oh, yeah.
Took a little while to locate him, Captain.
Hello, Captain. Judge Whitney and Mr. Weald.
Hi.
How do you do?
Judge, Patrolman Singleton.
How do you do?
He's nice.
He told me about all the trouble you've been having, Judge. I don't like to cause any trouble, but after all, my little girl...
I think it's the other way around as far as trouble being caused is concerned, Mr. Weald. Now, don't worry about that. Well, I think you better call the emergency squad, Captain. This isn't going to do any good.
Try again, Judge. Once more.
All right. Nora. Nora, please come to the door, Nora. Nora.
I think she's coming.
Please, close the door, Charles.
Let me in, Nora. You've got to.
Close the door and go away, Charles.
Sweetheart, now, please.
I'm not going to let you in. You're part of the law, too. You're on their side.
Mrs. Whitney.
Close the door, please.
This is Mr. Weald. He's the father of the little girl.
Oh, how is she?
She's all right, I think, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I'm terribly sorry. Jeff never bitten anyone before. I think it was an accident. I think he was just trying to get that red ball she was playing with. Just the red ball. He's a very good dog, really.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you sure she's all right?
We hope she'll be all right. She has to take 22 injections.
22 injections? Why?
Because we can't get Jeff to see that he doesn't have rabies.
Oh, Jeff doesn't have rabies. You know he doesn't.
We have to make sure, ma'am. That's the law.
I don't want to hear about the law. That's all I ever hear about.
You don't want that little 4-year-old girl to go through 22 injections, do you, Mrs. Whitney?
Oh, no. That'd be a shame.
Well, it's up to you.
It's not up to me. Jeff doesn't have rabies. Anybody can see that. Anybody.
When were you told to bring your little girl to the Department of Health, Mr. Wheel?
Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock.
All 22 at once?
No, ma'am. It takes 22 days.
Oh, no. Poor little girl.
Now, nothing will happen to Jeff, Mrs. Whitney. Believe me. They'll take good care of him. You'll have him back.
They'll keep him. They'll take him away from me, just like everything else. 22 injections.
That's right.
And she's such a little girl. How old is she?
4.
Yes, 4. That's right. She was crying and her leg hurt her. With those little curls with a ribbon. I remember those little curls with a ribbon. I never had a little girl. I always wanted one. Not 22 injections.
Yes, ma'am. 22.
Please close the door.
Mrs. Whitney.
Please close the door. I can't get the chain off if you don't close the door.
Yes, ma'am.
What's she waiting for?
All right. Take it easy.
Sweetheart, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
There's a lot to be sorry about, isn't there? So much.
Thank you, Mrs. Whitney.
Nothing to thank me for. Jeff's in there in the bedroom.
I'll see that he gets where he has to go, Captain.
Good.
Young man?
Me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, Mrs. Whitney.
Watch her. Watch her every minute. Every minute of your life.
Yes, ma'am.
Because without her, you won't have any life.
"21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein. He jumped, or he's going to jump? Where is he? On a ledge? Where is it? East 71?
And so it goes, around the clock, through the week, every day, every year. A police precinct in the city of New York is a flesh and blood merry-go-round. Anyone can catch the brass ring, or the brass ring can catch anyone.
21st Precinct, a factual account of the way the police work in the world's largest city, is presented with the official cooperation of the Patrolmen's Benevolent Association, an organization of more than 20,000 members of the Police Department, City of New York. Everett Sloan in the role of Captain Kennelly. Featured in tonight's cast were Lawson Zerbe, Wendell Holmes, Bill Zuckert, Don McLaughlin, Barbara Weeks, Bill Lipton, and Donald Bain. Written and directed by Stanley Niss. Gaylord Avery speaks.
"21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein. He jumped or he's going to jump. Where is he, on a ledge? Where is it? East 71? What floor? You are in the muster room at the 21st Precinct, the nerve center. A call is coming through. You will follow the action taken pursuant to that call from this minute until the final report is written in the 124 room at the 21st Precinct. Yes, sir. I'll send assistance right away. Right away. You just stay there, wait for the officers. Yes, sir.
21st Precinct. It's just lines on a map of the city of New York. Most of the 173,000 people wedged into the 9/10 of a square mile between Fifth Avenue and the East River wouldn't know if you asked them that they lived or worked in the 21st. Whether they know it or not, the security of their homes, their persons, and their property is the job of the men of the 21st Precinct.
The 21st, 160 patrolmen, 11 sergeants, and 4 lieutenants, of whom I'm the boss. My name is Kennelly, Frank Kennelly. I'm captain in command of the 21st. I was working my day tour, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. When I returned from patrol of the precinct at 2:20 p.m., the desk officer, Lieutenant Snyder, told me he had received word from the district attorney's office that 9 of my men, Sergeant Collins and 8 patrolmen, had been instructed to appear before the New York County Grand Jury at 10 the following morning. All had been at the scene when a gang of 5 safe burglars were apprehended 3 weeks earlier. I took the teletype communication concerning this matter and went upstairs to Lieutenant King's office in the 21st Detective Squad on the second floor. Come in. Hello, Matt. Come in, Captain. How are you, Captain? Oh, all right, except for this communication we got. What communication is that? This. Matt, there were 4 safe and loft squad detectives there and 4 of your men when that collar was made. They don't need any of my men to make a case. For the trial, maybe, if it goes to bat, but not before the grand jury. I don't think so, Captain. All of those men are working the day tour tomorrow to take 9 men away to really knock a hole in my platoon. Well, that's a mistake, Captain. Some assistant down there probably told his clerk to get all the police witnesses to the grand jury, and he did. We'll get it straightened out. Come in.
Captain, Sergeant Fyon, P.S. calling you.
Oh?
He's on 1.
Taking out my desk, Captain. Thanks, Coleman. Captain Kennelly.
Sergeant Klein, Captain. How soon will you be downstairs?
In a few minutes.
Can you come right away, Captain? It's important.
All right. I'll be right there. I left the 21st Squad and went downstairs through the back room where the attendant was sweeping up. He nodded at me, and I nodded back. I stepped out into the muster room. Lieutenant Snyder was talking to a couple of complainants who stood before the desk. I walked over to the telephone switchboard. 21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein. All right. You take your meal now. What is it, Sergeant?
Got a piece of bad news, Captain.
Yes? What?
A woman called in here from Queens. She said she was a neighbor of Sergeant Burns and his wife.
Yes?
She said that Mrs. Burns just got a telegram from the Army. Their boy was stationed at Fort Devens. He was killed in an accident this morning.
Oh, that's too bad.
A neighbor said she was calling from his house. Doctor's there for Fred's wife. They think you ought to come home right away.
Where is he?
On patrol, Captain.
All right, you better call him.
Yes, sir.
Communications Bureau, Patrolman Nelson.
This is Sergeant Klein at the 21st. Would you have 651 call the 21st?
Yes, sir.
How did it happen? Did they know?
No, sir. Just a telegram notifying them so far. Neighbor said it didn't say much.
Mm-hmm.
Car 651, call 21st Precinct, K. 651, 10-4, K11.
How old was the boy?
About 19, 20.
He was their only child, wasn't he?
Yes. His name was Fred, too. Fred Jr. Always talking about that kid. They loved to fish together. It's all he used to do when he was swinging or working the night tour. Go fishing with his boy. What do I say to him when he rings in, Captain? I'd rather not be the one to tell him.
Have him come into the house. I'll talk to him.
Yes. 21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein.
This is Lieutenant King, Sergeant. Would you tell Captain Kennelly that was a mistake? None of your men have to appear at the grand jury tomorrow.
Yes, sir. I'll tell him.
Okay, thanks.
It was Lieutenant King, Captain. They don't need any of our men for the grand jury tomorrow.
Oh, good.
21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein.
Sergeant Burns, box 18.
Oh. Hello, Fred. Come into the station house, will you?
What's doing?
Captain wants to talk to you.
What's the matter?
Just come in, will you?
All right. Tell the skipper I'm on my way. I'll be in 5 minutes. And don't eat things that disagree with you.
He's on his way, Captain. He'll be here in 5 minutes.
Send him into my office.
Yes.
A large part of a policeman's job is conveying bad news. Hardly a day goes by that we're not required to notify a wife or mother, a father or husband that someone close is dead or sick or in serious trouble. These notifications are difficult enough when total strangers are involved. Telling a man you've known and worked with that his only son is dead is twice as hard. I waited in my office. I tried to read over a few of the reports that had accumulated, but my eyes turned automatically through the open door into the muster room. Finally, I saw Sergeant Burns walk in. He approached the desk, talked for a few seconds to Lieutenant Snyder. Sergeant Klein busied himself filing aided case cards. When Sergeant Burns crossed the muster room toward my office, my attention turned to the file of reports in front of me.
Captain?
Come in.
Yes, sir.
Shut the door, will you, Fred?
Lieutenant Snyder says you wanted to see me, Captain.
Yes, that's right. Sit down, Fred.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir?
I've got some bad news for you, Fred.
What kind of bad news, Captain?
A neighbor of yours called in.
Nothing happened to Ruth. My wife's all right.
She's all right, yes. It's your boy.
What happened to him? The Army sent a wire. He was in an accident. He's dead. Yeah? I'm sorry, friend. Are they sure? For sure it was Freddie? Well, all we know is what your neighbor called in and told us, Fred. That's all. How's this happened? What kind of an accident? Where? I don't know, friend. Dear God. What am I going to do? How am I going to tell Ruth? She knows, Fred. The wire came to your home. Oh, yeah. Yeah. 19 years old, that's all. Just 19 years old. When he got out of the Army, he was going to try and get on the cops. I told him all the time, you don't want that. Get into something where there's more money. But it made me feel good that he wanted to get on the cops. Like I was setting a good example. Well, sit still, friend. Thanks, Captain. Thank you. You stay in here. Poor Ruth. Oh, there's a doctor with her, Fred. She'll be all right. Oh, yes, that's good. It's going to be kind of rough on her. She's got nobody else besides me and him. That's all she's got, Captain. Just me and him. Just me now. Just me. You stay in here, friend, or if you want me to stay with you. No, sir. That's all right. You don't have to stay. All right, friend. Whatever you want. What I want, I gotta have. I'll be outside. Yes, sir. How is it? You all right, Captain? Yes, I think so. 21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein. All right, 15. You think somebody ought to stay in there with him, Captain? He wanted to be alone. Oh. Hello, Captain. Matt, you got my message about your men not being needed at the grand jury tomorrow? Yes, sir, I gave it to him. You know what happened? It's a laugh. Somebody down at the DA's office. What's the matter? Fred Burns just got word his son was killed. Oh, that's rough. Yeah, he was a nice kid. I met him once. We went fishing. Captain, don't you think somebody ought to be in there with him? I don't know whether it's good to leave him in there alone. He ought to have company. This is one time a man doesn't need company. Not when he's crying. In about 20 minutes, Sergeant Fred Burns came out of my office. He changed to civilian clothes. I offered to have a man accompany him home. He refused. The rest of the afternoon was quiet. I turned out the platoon for the night tour at 4. From 4:30 to 6, I completed my paperwork and dictated a special report regarding changed conditions in the precinct in connection with the reopening of the schools. Shortly after 6 p.m., I signed the blotter and left the precinct to go off duty. The following day, before I reported for my night tour, I drove to the home of Sergeant Burns in Queens. I found the street with little difficulty, but every house was alike, except for the numbers on the doors. I parked my car and headed up the flagstone walk. Number 72 was a little different than the rest. There was a black wreath on the door. Hello, friend. Oh, Captain. Come in. Thanks. I hope you'll excuse the way things look around here. Oh, yeah, sure. With all that's happened and Ruth so broken up, there hasn't been much chance to get things straightened out. They brought him home late last night. For a while, she's all right, Captain, then you know. I can't blame her. I feel that way myself. I understand. Ruth, this is Captain Kennelly. You have my deepest sympathy, Miss Burns.
It's awful. It's awful.
Yes, ma'am. Captain. He was going to be 19 next month. Raise a boy and see him like this in your own living room. He just got made corporal just the day before. Army sent that flag along with him, having 2 soldiers come over for the funeral. Army's been very nice about the whole thing. CO called me up on the phone last night and told me how the whole thing happened. Would you like a cup of coffee, Captain? No, thanks, friend. There's some on the fire in the kitchen. No, never mind. I think I'll have some myself. I haven't had
thing hardly since I first found out. Would you come in the kitchen with me? Sure. I'm just going in the kitchen, Ruth. I'll be right back. She's in bad shape. She's in terrible shape. I don't know how she'll be able to get through this, you know. Right in here, Captain. You sure no coffee? No, I don't think so. 19 years old. That's all. Just 19. It was the hit-and-run driver that did it. Yes, I know. Lieutenant Gorman told me when I called the station house. Oh, yes, he was here last night. Well, sit down, Captain. Yes, he and everybody from my squad, everybody to a man. That makes you feel good. As good as you can feel. Did they get the driver? No, it was in town. You see, Freddie was made corporal, and the next night he got a pass, went into town to celebrate. You know how a kid is. Everything calls for a celebration. Yeah, I know. He had this other soldier with him, and they went out and celebrated. I guess they had a beer or two. I don't know. He wasn't much of a drinker, just a beer or two. That's all he'd ever touch. Anyway, they were walking back to get the bus for camp. I guess he stepped out into the street, and this car came along fast around the corner. The other boy got out of the way, all right, but Freddie didn't. Did the other boy get a look at the car? Yeah, he got a look at it. He said it was a black two-door. That's all he could see. The only thing he did say is he thought it was a soldier who was driving it. He couldn't even be sure of that. They're working on it, the MPs, the state police up there in Massachusetts. I hope they get the guy. You sure no coffee, Captain? No, thanks. I hope they get him. I raised that kid from nothing to 19 years old. I put about half of me into what's laid out there in that living room. Whoever it is, I want him to pay. I wouldn't want him to do it to another man's son. I want him to pay hard. I talked to Sergeant Burns a few minutes more. Finally, his wife came into the kitchen. She was a little better. He stayed out until Monday. When he reported back on the job for the night tour, I talked to him in my office for several minutes. He seemed fairly composed considering the circumstances and told me his wife had overcome the initial shock. After I turned out the platoon, I met with a committee of 3 Lexington Avenue merchants who complained of high-pressure solicitation of funds by little-known charitable organizations. I referred them to the Department of Welfare and phoned for an appointment for them to see the deputy commissioner the next day. At 5:30, I went on patrol and returned to the precinct house at 7:10 p.m. and walked over to TS.
A couple of messages for you, Captain.
Yeah?
And there's someone waiting for you.
Who's that?
Well, he said he was with
Take the call, Sergeant.
Yes. 21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein. Where is that? Yes, ma'am. And we got a call on that from someone else a few minutes ago. The officers are on the way over. They should be there any second. You're welcome, ma'am.
What's that, Sergeant?
A family argument over on East 67.
Oh. Who is it that's waiting for me?
Lieutenant Nayland, Captain. He says he's with the 1st Army Military Police Apprehension Unit.
Where is he?
Well, I asked him to wait in your office, and I told him you were due back in the house any minute. He's in there.
Okay, thanks.
Yes.
I'll be in my office.
21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein.
Lieutenant Nayland?
Yes, sir.
I'm Captain Kennelly.
How do you do, Captain? Lieutenant Richard Nayland, 1st Army MP Apprehension Unit.
I'm glad to know you. Sit down.
Thank you, sir.
Well, what can I do for you, Lieutenant?
We got an arrest to make in your precinct, Captain.
Oh? You need some assistance?
Yes, sir, I think we will. But that's not the problem right now.
What is?
This feller's AWOL. We've had the house staked out since last night. His wife's apartment, that is.
Mm-hmm.
We're 90% sure he's up there, but nobody's shown their head out of the place since we've been watching.
Yes?
We thought either he or his wife would come out today. We'd like to wind it up, but we don't have a warrant. And being federal officers, we can't go in there without a warrant.
We can't go in there either, Lieutenant. Not under these circumstances. We've got to have reason to believe that there's evidence of a crime or a fugitive from a crime inside. And by crime, I mean a felony, not AWOL.
He also is a fugitive in connection with a felony.
Is he?
Yes, sir. The Massachusetts State Police have got a warrant out for him on manslaughter. He's suspected of driving a hit-and-run car that struck another soldier and killed him.
What was the name of the victim?
And we got the request to apprehend from the MPs at Fort Devon. I didn't notice whether it was mentioned in the report or not. Oh, yes, sir, here it is. Corporal Fred Burns, Jr.
I think we can be of assistance to you, Lieutenant.
Thanks, Captain. Anything you can do will be appreciated.
We're glad to do it. The victim's father is a sergeant of police in this precinct.
He is? Yes. Well, that's a strange coincidence. It doesn't happen every day. It's funny. I'm sorry. I guess funny is not quite the word. I told the MP officer the case was properly in the province of the detectives, and I took him upstairs to Lieutenant King's office. There, he said the suspected soldier's name was John Escher, private, first class, age 22. He said that Escher had a 24-hour pass on the same night Corporal Burns was run down. Escher borrowed a car from a friend. He returned it early the next morning. There was a large dent in the front right fender, and the headlight was smashed. Escher failed to report for duty the following day and had been AWOL since. This information had been forwarded to the 1st Army Military Police by Fort Devon's MPs with a request that Private Escher's listed residence be checked. The residence was a small flat on the 3rd floor of an old law tenement building on East 76th Street. Lieutenant King and I sought all the available information from the MP officer. How many men have you got planted over there now, Lieutenant? Well, Lieutenant, we got the request yesterday from Fort Devon. I sent 2 of my best men right to the address. We staked the place out. We haven't seen either her or him since we've been there. She hasn't come out. Well, maybe she's not there. She might have gone to meet him someplace. There's somebody there, sir. I got hold of the people who live downstairs from them. They've been hearing voices and people walking around in the Escher place. People? That's what they said. 2 people at least. Has Escher had any previous criminal records you know of, Lieutenant, before he went into the service? No, Lieutenant, no record at all. He had gone AWOL once before. That was limited to company punishment. He overstayed a leave 48 hours. Well, Captain, suppose we go have a look. All right, Matt. But there's one thing. Yes, sir? Can I use your phone to TS? Sure. Thanks.
21st Precinct, Sergeant Clarence.
This is Captain Kennelly. Put out a radio call for Sergeant Burns.
Yes.
Tell him to come into the station house.
Yes, sir, right away.
I think he'd like to go along. I'm sure he would, Captain. In 5 minutes, Sergeant Burns was in the station house. He appeared to accept his instructions as he would in connection with any other duty assigned. We left the precinct house for the East 76th Street address at 10 minutes to 8. It was just getting dark. Lieutenant Nayland spotted the 2 men he had planted watching the buildings. He signaled for them to join us. Lieutenant King gave his instructions. He, Lieutenant Nayland, Sergeant Burns, and myself would lead the way up the stairs to the 4th floor. An MP and a detective right behind us would proceed straight up the stairs to the roof of the building to block an escape that way. The other officers would remain on the 3rd floor landing. All right, you drop off here. Yes, sir. Let the detectives and the MPs handle it, Fred. We'll stay in the background. Yes, sir. And you keep away from the boy. Yes, sir. All right, up quietly now. The door in the front. Kenny, the tally, up to the roof. Right, sir. Okay. They're in there, I hear them.
Yes? Who is it?
I want to talk to John.
John isn't here.
And I want to talk to you. Open the door. I'm a police officer.
What do you want?
Open up or I'll kick it in. Open up.
All right.
Where's John?
He's not here, honest.
Isn't he?
All right. He is. But please, he's scared. He's scared half to death. He told me about the accident. He did. He said he didn't see that soldier. It wasn't his fault. It really wasn't.
Why didn't he stop the car?
I don't know.
Where is he?
He don't know why either. He just didn't, that's all.
Where is he?
In there. In the bedroom.
Is he armed? Does he have a gun?
No, he doesn't have a gun.
All right.
Wait a minute, please. I don't know what's the matter with him. He's sick, I think. He came home and he wouldn't leave the house. He wouldn't let me leave, not even for food. He hadn't had a thing to eat all day. He's sick. I know he's sick.
All right, you stand there. You take care of her. All right. Let's get him. John, open up.
No. Stay away from that.
Open the door.
Stay away, I'm telling you.
He said he'd jump out the window. That's what he said.
John? All right, let's push it in. Give me a hand. Okay, Lieutenant. Go on, friend. Yes, sir. Together.
Now. Stay away.
Again. Now.
Warning.
Once more. Push.
Don't come any closer.
Get out of that window, boy. What are you trying to prove?
Don't come any closer. I'll jump. I swear I'll jump.
That's 4 floors down to the street.
I know what it is. Don't come any closer now. I'm warning you. Don't.
Now, look, John.
Stay where you are.
Well, he really told me he would.
We can stay here all night, John. We've got all the time in the world.
Stay there if you want. If you come any closer, I'll jump. I swear I will.
Ring in for ESD and an ambulance. Tell them what we've got. Okay, Captain. Come out of that window, boy. Get some sense.
No, I'm not.
This isn't so bad. Not worth dying over.
Isn't it?
Can I talk to him, Captain? Man? Sure, Fred. Go ahead. Listen, son.
I'm not listening. Don't try to calm me.
All right, you're in a little trouble. Everybody's been in a little trouble.
Stay where you are. I'll go out, I swear.
That'd be a smart thing to do, wouldn't it? That's going to solve everybody's problems, huh?
It'll solve mine.
What about your wife? What about your folks?
Look, don't try to con me. Stay where you are now.
All right, now, come on, get out of there. Why make things worse than they are? It's not that bad.
It's plenty bad.
Not so bad. For other people, maybe. Everybody knows you're sorry about running down that soldier. And AWOL isn't anything. It's nothing.
I'm telling you, stay away. I'll go out.
Do you know the soldier that you ran down?
No, I didn't know.
Well, then what are you worried about? Come on out of the window. You're throwing your life away over something that doesn't mean a thing to you. You'd probably get out of this whole thing anyway. It was an accident. Kid stepped off the curb. Right in front of you.
He did. He did. I had the light with me. It wasn't my fault. I didn't even see him. I just got a little excited, that's all. Just a little excited.
All right, now, come on. Let's sit down and talk about it, John. Just tell us about it.
What'll they do to me?
Nothing much. Take my word for it.
What's your guarantee?
I don't have any guarantee. You'll have to take your chances. But look at the chance you're taking going out the window.
All right.
Now close the window. Sit down in that chair.
Yes. All right.
Here's a cigarette. Smoke it and relax. All right. Get back on the job, you men. Show's over.
All right, sir.
Good work, friend.
Thanks, Sergeant. I really didn't want to go out the window. I didn't know what else to do about it. There just wasn't anything else to do.
I'm Lieutenant Nayland of the MPs.
Well, that figured.
Your prisoner, Lieutenant.
Sergeant, you're all right, Sergeant. You're okay. Thanks.
I just got away with boys.
Yeah. You must have one yourself.
No. No, I don't, Johnny. No children. 21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein. What's the matter there? How do you know? And so it goes. Around the clock, through the week, every day, every year. The police precinct in the city of New York is a flesh and blood merry-go-round. Anyone can catch the brass ring, or the brass ring can catch anyone.
21st Precinct, a factual account of the way the police work in the world's largest city, is presented with the official cooperation of the Patrolmen's Benevolent Association, an organization of more than 20,000 members of the Police Department City of New York. Everett Sloan in the role of Captain Kennelly, Ken Lynch as Lieutenant King. Featured in tonight's cast were Wendell Holmes, Lawson Derby, Ralph Camargo, George Petrie, Michael Dreyfus, and Elaine Ross. Written and directed by Stanley Niss. Produced for CBS Radio by John Ives. Gaylord Avery speaking.
'21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein. What's the matter with him? How do you know he's dead? From what? Where is this? You're in the muster room at the 21st Precinct, the nerve center. A call is coming through. You will follow the action taken pursuant to that call from this minute until the final report is written in the 124 room at the 21st Precinct. All right. You just wait there for the officers. No, right there. I'm sending him now. You just wait there and show them where he is. All right, thank you.
21st Precinct. It's just lines on a map of the city of New York. Most of the 173,000 people wedged into the 9/10 of a square mile between Fifth Avenue and the East River wouldn't know if you asked them that they lived or worked in the 21st. Whether they know it or not, the security of their homes, their persons, and their property is the job of the men of the 21st Precinct.
The 21st. 160 patrolmen, 11 sergeants, and 4 lieutenants, of whom I'm the boss. My name is Kennelly, Frank Kennelly. I'm captain in command of the 21st. I was working my 4 p.m. to 8 a.m. tour. After I turned out the platoon for the night tour, I read the entries on the arrest record and blotter for an event-by-event picture of what had occurred in the precinct since I was last on duty. A little after 6, sector car number 3 came by the house for me, and I went on patrol of the precinct. When I returned to the station house, Lieutenant Gorman, the desk officer, told me things were quiet. I walked around the corner to a spaghetti house for my meal, which I finished at 8:40.
Oh, hello, Captain.
John, how are you?
I didn't know you were in. If I did, I would have come over to the table. Said hello.
Oh, I was sitting in the back.
125 on 4 cents package. Out of 2.
Oh, I'll have a pack of spearmint.
Well, that's 134. You been seeing many ball games, Captain?
No, not this year.
35, 40, 50, and 2. Me neither. You know, I couldn't whip up any enthusiasm this season. I'm a Yankee fan. I'm a Yankee fan from way back. But 8, 10, 12, 14 games out in front, how can you get excited? Just the point where they're the whole league.
Yeah, it's got to be close to be interesting.
But at least the series might be interesting. Who do you pick?
I think the Brooks will take them.
You do? They never have yet.
Well, that's some ball club.
Well, yeah, they look like a ball club in their league, but wait till they get up against some competition.
Well,
wait, I'll walk out with you. I want to get a paper. Ralph, keep your eye on the front, huh? I just want to take a look at the box scores. They clinched the pennant, you know, but there's no harm in checking on the batting averages. Yeah. You going to see any of the series games, Captain?
It's a little bit too rich for my blood.
Yeah, that's $10 a reserve seat routine. That's a little rich for anybody's blood. Yeah. Look at that fellow. He's turning the fire alarm. Hey, you. Hold up there. Wait a minute. You, wait a minute.
I'm not going anyplace. Where's the fire? There isn't any fire. What'd you pull the hook for? Because I wanted it.
Where's the fire, Captain?
There isn't any fire. I'm a police officer. What's your name? Brighter. Hal Brighter. Don't you know it's a criminal offense to turn in a false alarm? I know it's a criminal offense.
Captain, you want me to run around the station house? You want to get some help?
He doesn't need any help. No, John, they'll be here. Don't worry about it. Why'd you pull the hook? Come on, look at me. Talk to me. Why'd you pull the hook? Because I want to go to jail, that's why. I want to go to jail. You will, mister. You can count on it. The essential factors in fighting a fire are the promptness of discovery and the speed at which firemen arrive on the scene. But speed has its hazards. As many or more firemen are killed and injured in accidents occurring while responding to alarms as in the course of fires themselves. During the last calendar year, there were 13,981 false alarms in the city of New York. And to each of these, no less than 4 pieces of fire department apparatus and 2 police cars responded. In this case, the offender, Hal Brighter, made no excuses, nor would he offer any reason for his act. He was questioned for some minutes on the street by myself, by other police officers on the scene, and by the fire captain in command of the apparatus which responded. After the fire apparatus left, he was taken around the corner to the precinct house, where, as arresting officer, I booked him in. How do you spell that? B-R-I-D-E-R. Any middle initial? E. Hal E. Brighter. How old are you? 21. Where do you live? I live at 734 East 81st Street.
What apartment number?
2B.
Bond is $500. Can be posted with me.
What do you mean, bond? Bail. If you can get somebody to post $500 bail, you don't have to appear until he comes up in court. Otherwise, we'll have to hold you. I want to be held. I don't want any bail. Now, look, son, this isn't doing you any good. You must have had a reason for pulling that hook. Now, tell us about it. I don't want to talk about it. Just lock me up. Well, that'll come soon enough. How many other false alarms did you turn in? None. This is the only one. What was it? Just an impulse? No, it wasn't an impulse. I thought about it. I thought about it a long time. Look, that's my office across there. Go in there and sit down. I'll be in a minute. Why? I want to talk to you, that's why. I've got nothing to say. I just want to be locked up. Go in there and sit down. Yes. I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk to anybody.
That's an odd one, Captain.
Yeah, sure is.
You want to take this pinch yourself, Captain? You'll have to go to court in the morning.
No, that's all right.
Well, what's the matter with that guy, Captain? Maybe he likes to hear sirens. They give him a boot.
Do you see his eyes? Looks like a user to me.
He did it tough, didn't he?
I know he's a user. I wanted him to tell me. What's his idea?
What could he get by turning in a false alarm?
What could he get besides a little time on Rikers Island?
I'll be in my office, Lieutenant.
Yes, sir.
All right, Hal. I want you to tell me what the trouble is.
I've got no trouble.
Haven't you? Stand up.
Why?
I said stand up.
Yes, sir.
Take your coat off.
Why?
Is that the only thing you know? Why? Take it off.
Yes, sir.
Put it on that chair there. Roll up your sleeve.
Oh, what are you trying to find out that you don't already know?
Let me see your arm. How long have you been on the habit, Hal?
Long enough.
All right. Sit down. Why'd you pull the hook on that firebox?
It's a long story. You wouldn't be interested.
Who said I wouldn't?
Well, I'm not interested. Look, you locked me up. I don't feel like talking to anybody. I'm beginning to feel lousy. I feel terrible.
Are you married?
No, I'm not married.
You live on 81st Street there all by yourself?
Yeah, it's all by myself.
You have any family?
What's this got to do with my family?
Where are they?
I don't have any family.
When did you shoot up last?
What difference does it make?
When?
Yesterday morning, not since then.
Who's your connection, Hal?
I've got no connection.
You must have been getting it someplace. Where?
I don't know anything.
If you don't know anything, Hal, we'll teach you a lot around here.
Who are you calling?
21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein.
Sergeant, ring upstairs to the detective squad and see if we can locate Lieutenant King.
Yes.
And ask him to come into my office for a minute, will you?
Yes, sir, Captain.
What do you need him for?
If you're a narcotics user, Hal, it's his job to find out who sold it to you. Why'd you pull that fire alarm?
I don't think you'd understand.
Maybe I would. Why don't you try me?
I told you it was a long story. It's cold in here, you know that? It's awfully cold in here. Now, I'm beginning to feel terrible, really terrible. I'm sick.
Put your coat on.
Yeah, thanks. That ought to help a little.
You work, Hal? You got a job?
Yes, I did have. I did have until the day before yesterday.
What happened?
I got fired.
Why?
Why do you think?
How'd you get the habit? You should have known better than that. You look like an intelligent boy.
I'm very intelligent. Top 10 in my class. A big deal.
How'd you get hooked?
Well, it was this girl.
What's her name?
It doesn't have anything to do with it. I thought I could kick the habit anytime. First it was just once in a while and maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and then it got to be a regular fix every day. Every day.
Where is this girl?
I don't know where she is. I lost track of her someplace down the line. I don't know what happened to her. I haven't seen her in 5, 6 weeks, a couple of months. Listen, I gotta loosen my tie, Captain. It's getting awfully warm in here. You don't mind if I loosen my tie?
No? Go right ahead.
Thanks. But I was buying 2, 3, 4 caps a day. See, I had a good job, but it was beginning to cost me $40, $50, $60 a week to support the habit. It was too much. It was way too much, and it was getting so I couldn't get halfway through the day.
I imagine you couldn't.
And when they fired me, there I was, with no money, owing everybody, not a chance in the world to get another job, and it kind of brought me to my senses.
Did it?
So I told myself, Hal, you're going to kick the habit. You're going to kick it right now. So I went home. You know what I did?
What?
Well, I went to the drawer, and I got the works. You know, the needle and the cotton and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what I did with them? I broke them up, and I threw them down the toilet. I said, Hal, that's all, boy. You're through. That's all. So I started to sweat it out. I stayed around the house. I didn't leave. And then I started to dry up. Just dry up. This cold turkey is awful. You know how sick I got. I told myself I was going to sweat it out, and I was sweating, too. I really was. Anyway, I had a bottle of whiskey there. I thought maybe that would help, get me over the hump, so I soaked it down. And I soaked it down. Anyway, I got stinking passed out drunk. I just passed... Listen, is there a window open, Captain? There's an awful draft in here somewhere.
No window open.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just my imagination. I guess I'm just getting sick again. Anyway, I flopped down in the bed, and it was 11:30 in the morning before I woke up, and I wasn't feeling too sick, so I said, Hal, maybe you're over the hump. Maybe you're there.
Well, didn't you eat anything?
No, I wasn't hungry. I wasn't hungry at all. I just would get into one chair, and I moved to the next one, and I'd take my shoes off, and I put them back on, but I was going to sweat it out. I made up my mind I was going to sweat it out.
But you didn't.
No, I didn't. I shot up about 8:30 last night.
Well, that was last night. What about today?
Well, I didn't give up the idea of kicking the habit. I figured I'd make it because it cost me my last $6 for the 3 caps the night before. See, I didn't have a cent left, so... Anyway, I didn't care how sick I got. I really stuck it out. At about 8 o'clock. And then I thought I'd better go out and get some air. See, that's what I needed, some air. So I went down the street and I started walking, and it was getting worse all the time. It was just worse and worse. And I walked
by where my connection hangs out. I just walked by. See, I didn't even stop.
You didn't have the money.
Well, that's true, but I went right by him anyway. See, I was feeling terrible. It was real bad, and I walked down the street, and I saw this car. And you know, it was in the back seat. There was a fur coat. And all kinds of things kept going through my head. Hal, get the coat, put it in soak, get money for a fix. Well, you know, I walked around the block 3 times past that car, and the last time I stopped, and I was just about to open the door, see, and I stopped, and I said, Hal, what's the matter with you? You know what you're doing? This is what you said wouldn't happen to you. You're not going to be a thief like everybody else on the habit, so I just walked some more, and I thought, Hal, if you're in jail, it's cold turkey, and there's no questions asked.
So you pulled the hook on the fire alarm?
Yeah, that's right, I pulled the hook.
To get in jail?
Yes, sir, to get in jail.
Well, Hal, that's the only thing you were right about. Stairs together to wait arrival of detectives from the narcotics squad who would interrogate the boy in an attempt to learn his source of the drugs. At 9:30, a car came by the precinct house and took me down to 86th Street and York Avenue, where one of the candidates for mayor in the forthcoming election was speaking to a rally. The crowd was neither large nor disorderly. After the rally broke up, I resumed patrol of the precinct. At 11:30, I returned to the precinct house. As the sector car drove away, I walked up the worn front stoop into the muster room.
21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein. Hello, Captain.
Sergeant?
All right. 11. Yeah. Now watch it there, Captain.
Huh?
Ain't sweat. The Mendicant squad just dumped 6 moochers in here.
Were they picked up in this precinct?
Yes, sir. Seems there was a migration from the Bowery. They came up in a lump. Oh, Captain.
Yes?
There's a young woman waiting for you.
No? Where?
She said she'd be right back. She asked if there was a phone here that she could use, and I told her there's no public phone in the precinct house. She'd have to go to the candy store down the block.
Who is she?
She's the sister of that boy who turned in the false alarm.
Oh. How about him? What happened?
He's back in the cells, Captain. A couple of men from the narcotics squad showed up and talked to him upstairs. Nat King came down with him. He said they're through with him, to lock him up.
And did she talk to her brother?
Yes, sir, when the detectives brought him downstairs. She talked to him for a while in the back room. Then she said she'd like to wait for you.
See if you can get me Lieutenant King on the phone, will you? Is he upstairs?
Yes, Captain, I think so.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir. Step right up to bed. What can I do for you?
I want you to send a policeman home with me, will you?
Well, what's the trouble there?
Well, I tell you, my landlady won't let me into my room.
Why not?
Well, she claims I'm 2 weeks behind in my rent. She said I'm locked out till I pay up.
Well, are you 2 weeks behind?
Well, it's not the point, is it? The point is, does she have a right to keep my clothes?
That's not our job to get your clothes back, mister. That's between you and the landlady.
Lieutenant King's on his way downstairs, Captain.
Okay, thanks.
Excuse me.
Well, that's all right.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. No. Well, can't you send somebody over there so she'll be at least reasonable? I don't care about the room. I can get 1,000,000 rooms, but I want my thing.
That's a civil action, mister. You'll have to get out a summons on her and let the magistrate work it out.
Well, I owe her the rent, all right. That would count against me, wouldn't it?
Oh, there's Lieutenant King, Captain.
Okay, thanks.
Well, the point is, I don't have a clean shirt to wear to work tomorrow.
Matt?
Hello, Captain.
How did you and the narcotics squad make out with that boy?
Well, I came uptown to talk to him. I had him in my office for nearly an hour. Not so good with him.
No?
No, sir, he wasn't carrying. Didn't have a thing on him. While they were talking to him, I sent Novak and Howard over to have a look in his room. They couldn't find the works or any junk over there.
Well, he told me he disposed of the works.
Yes, I know. He wouldn't open up to us about his connection. But from what he told you about where he was walking, right by his connection, he said.
Yeah, that's right.
And from where he saw the car and from where he pulled the fire hook, they've got a pretty good idea on just about the location his connection hangs out. They're checking around to see if they can spot him.
Well, what about the boy, meanwhile?
Well, there's no narcotics case against him, Captain. They thought the best thing to do was go ahead and charge him with a false alarm. Might get 6 months out of that. Couldn't do much better, even if they did have a case.
Okay, Matt, thanks.
I'm going out and get a sandwich. How about you, Captain?
No, much obliged. I got a whole folder of reports in there.
Oh, that's his sister. Just came back in.
Yeah, they told me she wants to talk to me.
Mrs. Rygate, this is Captain Kennelly.
How do you do, Captain?
How are you?
I'll be back a little later, Captain.
Okay, Matt.
See you then.
They said you wanted to talk to me, ma'am.
That's right. If you have a minute.
In my office.
Yes, sir. All right. I suppose you know it's about Hal.
Yes, I know. Mrs. Rygate?
Yes, that's right. This is Joan Rygate.
You want to have a seat there?
Yes, thanks.
How did you find out about this?
Well, I have a friend that lives in the same building as Hal. Right across the hall, as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
When the detectives came to look in his apartment before, my friend called me on the telephone. They told my friend that Hal was arrested. He was over here.
Where do you live, Mrs. Rygate?
In Hempstead. You know, Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my husband stayed with the children, and I took the car and drove on in. I don't know what I could do, but I came anyway.
Did you know your brother was a narcotics addict?
No, I didn't. Not until tonight.
Didn't you know something was wrong?
Well, not exactly. We haven't seen him all summer, not since the middle of June. He used to come out to the house every other week or so. He likes the kids. He just adores them. Well, I thought he was busy and didn't have time. You know how it is. How bad is it, Captain? You read about people getting cured. I was just wondering what he can do, what I can do.
Well, anything can be done. It's up to him.
Yes, I know. Well, we don't have much money. My husband has a small store out there. He's just getting started in business. We don't have too much, but anything I can do to help out, I'll be glad to.
What about your parents? Where do they live?
In Jersey. My father's dead. My mother remarried. She remarried a man with 3 young children. He couldn't go there. That would be impossible. I don't think she'd want him. I don't think she ever wanted him. Either of us. It's funny. She didn't want either of us, and now she's got 3 that aren't even her own. You were saying he could help himself. How can he do that?
Well, the public health law dealing with narcotics states that an admitted narcotic addict can have himself committed and subjected to treatment.
Oh, that would be good, but where would that be? In a hospital?
That's right, in the city hospital.
Oh, the hospital wouldn't be so bad. He's locked up back there now. He's never been in jail before in his life, never. The sergeant out there told me that his bail is $500. For a $500 bail, he can get out. Well, what do you mean? You put up $500 or the city keeps the $500 or what?
Well, he's just put up as surety that he'll appear for his trial.
Oh, I never knew exactly what it meant.
If he appears for the trial, the bond is released. But I don't think he wants to be released on bail. That's why he pulled the fire alarm, to get in jail.
That's what he told me, too. He wanted to get in jail where he'd be away from it, but where he couldn't possibly get it. He said he didn't care what happened to him. He didn't care how sick he got.
Well, what did you want with me, Mrs. Ryder?
I just wanted to find out what I could do. I just want to know what's best. What's best for Hal.
I think the best thing would be if he'd subject himself to treatment and help the detectives with what they want to know.
Oh, no, he wouldn't do that. I know he wouldn't. He told me that the people who sold him the dope were helping him out. That's all they were doing. They were helping him out when he was in trouble.
Yes, they help everybody out, especially themselves. The rest of the night was quiet in the precinct. At 7:45 a.m., the patrol wagon arrived to take the prisoners arrested during the night to court. Among them were 2 cat burglars and a parole violator who would be taken downtown to 100 Center Street to felony court. The 6 Boweryites arrested on their uptown mooching expedition and Hal Brider were taken to Arrest Part, Midtown Magistrates Court, 153 East 57th Street. At 8 a.m., I turned out the platoon, signed the blotter, and left the precinct. I had breakfast, called Ellen. Told her I had to go to court and would be home late. I window shopped on 5th Avenue and on 57th Street till 5 minutes to 10 when I walked into the courtroom. There were fewer spectators than people inside the rail, police officers, attorneys, bondsmen. The prisoners were guarded in the barred room off to one side. As the jail docket is always called first, the assistant district attorney told me my case would be through early. The magistrate entered and court was called to order. The first case was on a charge of assault from the 17th precinct. The complaining witness had lost much of his enthusiasm overnight.
I'll dismiss the charges for lack of evidence.
Case dismissed. You can go.
Order, please. Order, please.
Hallie Brider to the bar. Hallie Brider.
Yes, that's right.
Right over this way.
Is the arresting officer in court?
Captain Kennelly. Is Captain Kennelly in court?
Yes, I'm here.
Hallie Brider, you were charged with violation of Section 1424 of the Penal Law.
Are you represented by counsel, young man?
Sir, I don't need a lawyer. I'm guilty, Your Honor.
I can't take your plea here. All I can do is set bail and bind you over to special sessions.
Your Honor.
Yes, Captain.
This man is a narcotics addict. He admitted it to me. I think the district attorney would be willing to go along with a suspended sentence if he'd allow himself to be committed for treatment.
Is that true, young man?
No, sir, I'm all right. I don't need treatment. I don't want it. Now, look, boy, get some sense, will you? Look, there's only one place to kick it. That's jail. That's where. If you think that's easy... I know it's not easy. You think I'm having an easy time now? I'm sick now. I'm sick already.
I can't commit him, Captain, not unless he makes a voluntary application.
Yes, I know, Your Honor.
Well, I'm not going to volunteer.
Bail on the charge is set at $500. Remand for special sessions.
This way.
All right.
Step this way through that door. Bernard J. Bexel. Bernard J. Bexel to the bar.
As a result of his failure to make the $500 bond, Hal Brider was taken to the Tombs to wait his trial in Special Sessions Court on charges of turning in a false alarm. Before I left, I stopped in the detention pen to talk to him. He was convinced that the answer was to sweat it out in jail. Cold turkey, as he called it. Symptoms typical of the withdrawal from narcotics had overtaken him. His eyes were watery, his head hurt. He was alternately hot and cold. He was genuinely ill, but he was determined. I left the court building and got a subway for home, not due back on the job until 8 the following morning. When I got to the precinct house the next day, I signed the blotter and turned out the platoon for the day tour. There was a teletype communication addressed to all precinct, division, and borough commanders to report in the lineup room at police headquarters, 240 Center Street, at 10 o'clock that morning. The meeting concerned police assignments in connection with the registration of voters and the subsequent election of city officers. The meeting lasted until 12:15. On the way uptown, just as we were entering the 21st, a signal 32 came over the air. The address, 734 East 81st Street, ambulance responding. I told my operator to make the run. When we pulled into the block, I saw the 2 sectors car, the sergeant's car, and the ESD car were on the job. All right, let's keep the sidewalk clear, Farrell. Have these people move on. All right, police officer. Coming through there. Police officer. All right, let me through there.
Oh, hello, Captain.
What do we got, Sergeant?
DOA.
Yeah?
I was just going out to notify the medical examiner.
What is it, natural causes?
No, sir.
Not homicide.
No, sir. You know who he is? He's your friend, the false alarm kid.
Where is it, Sergeant?
Top the stairs, Captain. I'll walk up with you. Lieutenant King is here.
Oh? Is he?
Yes, sir.
How did it happen?
Lieutenant King says it looks like an overdose. There was a hypodermic needle and 4 or 5 empty capsules around.
How did he get out of jail? I thought he was going to sweat it out there.
And my sister's here. She told me she won his bond.
Oh.
Right in there, Captain. He's in there. She went down to visit him at the Tombs yesterday afternoon. She paid a bondsman $25. He got out last night. In there.
Hello, Matt.
Captain.
What's it look like, Matt? An overdose?
Yes, sir. It's pretty obvious. He wanted to make up for a little lost time.
He's lost plenty of time now, hasn't he?
He sure has.
Did you find him, Matt?
No, sir, but I was on my way over here. We got his connection during the night. I called down to the Tombs. They told me the boy was released on bail. So I was on my way over to see if he'd help us make a stronger case against this shover.
How was he found?
His sister came to see him. She promised she would at noon. She knocked on the door. There wasn't any answer. She got the super to open up. This is what they found.
He wanted to kick the habit.
Seems like the habit kicked him.
All right, I'll go talk to her. You better notify the ME, Sergeant.
Yes.
Mrs. Rygate?
It didn't have to happen. It didn't have to happen at all.
You wanted to stay in jail. You wanted to sweat it out.
I couldn't stand to see him in jail. Not Hal. I just couldn't stand to see Hal in jail. I got a bondsman and I got him out. He didn't want to come out. He didn't want to leave. But I talked him into it. My fault. Oh, my fault. I know it.
But if you got him out, why did you leave him alone last night?
Well, he said he'd be all right. And I have my children and my husband. He said he'd be fine. He told me he was going to kick the habit. He said he'd never touch this stuff again.
He won't. He's kicked the habit. He's kicked it for good.
"21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein." You what? Smell gas. Where is this? E71? At what floor? You haven't found where it's coming from. That's right. Get the people out. See if you can locate where it's coming from.
And so it goes. Around the clock, through the week, every day, every year. A police precinct in the city of New York is a flesh and blood merry-go-round. Anyone can catch the brass ring, or the brass ring can catch anyone.
21st Precinct, a factual account of the way the police work in the world's largest city, is presented with the official cooperation of the Patrolmen's Benevolent Association, an organization of more than 20,000 members of the Police Department, City of New York. Everett Sloan in the role of Captain Kennelly, Ken Lynch as Lieutenant King. Featured in tonight's cast were Robert Reddick, Lawson Zerby, Jack Orison, Bill Smith, Raymond Edward Johnson, and Madeline Sherwood. Written and directed by Stanley Niss, produced for CBS Radio by John Ives. Gaylord Avery speaking.
21st Precinct, Sergeant Collins. You what? Smell gas? Where is it? East 70 what? What floor? You haven't found where it's coming from? That's right. Get the people out. See if you can locate where it's coming from. No, that's all right. We'll take care of it.
You're in the muster room at the 21st Precinct, the nerve center. A call is coming through. You will follow the action taken pursuant to that call from this minute until the final report is written in the 124 room at the 21st Precinct.
You'll have assistance right away. Yes, sir, right away. No, just stay where you are. The officers will be there right away.
21st Precinct. It's just lines on a map of the city of New York. Most of the 173,000 people wedged into the 9/10 of a square mile between Fifth Avenue and the East River wouldn't know if you asked them that they lived or worked in the 21st. Whether they know it or not, the security of their homes, their persons, and their property is the job of the men of the 21st Precinct.
The 21st, 160 patrolmen, 11 sergeants, and 4 lieutenants, of whom I'm the boss. My name is Kennelly, Frank Kennelly. I'm captain in command of the 21st. It was Tuesday morning. I'd been on the job since 8 when I turned out the platoon for the day tour. After I read and signed reports, I went on patrol of the precinct with Patrolman Farrell as my operator. As we turned off Park Avenue into 72nd Street, a signal 32 came over the air. 618 East 75th Street. Ambulance and emergency squad responding. Sounded like a gas case. I told Farrell to make the run. When we turned into the block, I could see that sector car number 1 was on the job. So was the sergeant's car. There was no sign of either the ambulance or the ESD car. 618 was a 5-story tenement building. A few passers-by and neighbors were beginning to gather on the sidewalk. There's the spot, Farrell. Pull in. Yes, sir. All right, let's go.
Right with you, Captain. That's either ESD or the ambulance coming now.
Yeah. Keep the sidewalk clear, Farrell. Keep off the stoop.
That's all right, folks. Will you let it through, yeah, huh? You, will you please get off the stoop?
Dig here, Farrell.
Yes, sir. Oh, I can smell like gas out here. It's sick.
Farrell.
Yes, sir.
Keep people away from those doorbells.
Yes, sir. Now, look, I told you to get off the stoop.
Sergeant Collins.
Who is it?
Captain Kennelly.
Second floor, Captain.
All right.
Cody! What do you find out there? I don't think it's good here, Sergeant. Take the people down. I want the building clear. I'm sending them, Sergeant.
Sergeant?
You back, Captain.
All right.
Anybody home in there? Open up. It's the police.
Where is it, Sergeant?
Beats me, Captain. We haven't been able to locate it.
Well, we better locate it fast.
Open up in there.
Send the building up.
Open up in there. There's nobody's home, Captain. We've been hitting every door. I sent a man up to 3rd and another to 5th who was clearing everybody out. It's not on this floor. Coley! Did you locate it? He's on the 4th floor, Captain. Whole hall smells of gas. No telling where it's coming from.
Who put in the call?
Super. He's up with Coley. Tenant smell gas in the hall.
How about the main feed line?
I sent glass into the basement with the super's wife to turn off the valve.
Good.
Now, come on, folks. Don't stand there and talk about it. Out on the street, please. Get on the sidewalk. Did you open your windows, folks? And have your doors open?
All right.
Out of the building.
All right, come on.
Yes, sir.
Anybody cover the 3rd floor yet?
Just quickly and away up, Captain. I told those people to clear out. Not them.
Let's try that one.
Yeah. Smells pretty strong here.
Police officers, open up in there. Police officers, open up.
This could be it, Captain.
Open up.
Coley! Come on down here. Bring the super with you.
Well, this is it, I'm sure.
What do you want to do, Captain? Push the door in?
Yeah. All right, let's go. Together. Again. Now.
Is that it, Sergeant? You think so, yeah. Let me see if I can kick it.
Go ahead. Try it again. Yep, this is it, all right. Keep low. Coley, hit that window. I'll get this one. Yes, sir. Sergeant, get the stove.
I got it. They're shut off, Captain.
How's the other window, Coley?
Shut, Captain. This looks like the culprit, Captain.
Yeah.
Coffee boiled over. Put out the flame. Sure ruined a good coffee pot.
Well, that looks like about it. Coley.
Yes, sir.
Take a look in that room. See if anybody's in there. Yes. Let's try this one, Sergeant.
Only one burner was on, Captain. Looks like an accident. Nobody in here?
Coley, anybody in that room?
Yes, sir, nobody.
Well, the ambulance and the EFD just got here. You can head them off, Sergeant. We don't need them.
Yes, sir, right away.
Say, Coley, where's the super?
I left him out in the hall, Captain.
Well, I want to talk to him.
Yes, sir.
Let's give this room a chance to air it out.
Who is it down there, Phil? Yes, Sergeant.
Mr. Campisi.
Tell the EFD in the ambulance we won't need him. Coffee boiled over. Nobody hurt. Yes, sir.
You want to see me?
Yeah, this is Captain Kennelly, Mr. Philip Campisi, Superintendent.
Glad to know you. How are you? Real mess this turned out to be. Real mess. Well, it could have been worse.
I headed off the ambulance and the EFD, Captain.
Good. Hey, listen, was it necessary to kick the door in? Look at that. The panel is split. The lock is busted. Ain't worth much of anything now. What do you expect us to do, Mr. Campisi? There might have been somebody overcoming here, or a spark could have blown up the building. Well, that's all well and good, but I'm the one that's got to explain to the landlord. I'm the one that's got to ask him for a new door, new hardware. This could never be fixed, never. Even the frame is shot. Look, what's the name of the tenant here? The tenant? Yeah. Oh, the tenant is a fellow named Harrods, Alfred Harrods. Listen, is any damage inside?
Just to the coffee pot.
Oh, well, that ain't the landlord's. That's his, Harrods. None of these flats furnished. Tenants got to furnish their own furniture and furnishings. Where is he? What do you mean, where is he? Where'd he go? Well, listen, as long as he pays his rent, he can come and go as he pleases. I don't keep track of him. Can we take a look inside? I just want to check for sure there's no damage. I got to call the landlord, give him the whole story.
I guess it's pretty well cleared out by now, huh, Captain?
Yeah, I'd imagine. Landlord's going to hit the ceiling about this door. Still smells pretty bad of gas in here. Oh, it's all right. You don't have any idea where this tenant could be. Well, I told you. Did you call the police? Yeah, that was me. Mrs. Truro on the 4th floor come down, knocked on my door. She said she smelled gas in the hall, you know. Well, I came upstairs and I checked immediately. Sure enough. But I couldn't tell where it was coming from, though. I had the same trouble as you, so I called. Mm-hmm. Well, who knows what could happen in a situation like that? You got to call. Don't look like there's any damage to the stove, huh? Listen, Mr. Campisi, this whole thing was very lucky. Yeah, very lucky. New door. Well, the place could have been blown sky high. I want you to call the station house when this tenant gets home. I want to send an officer over here to talk to him about going out and leaving a pot of coffee on the fire. Talk to him myself. Well, you call the station house. Yeah, okay, I'll call.
Hey, Coley. Yes, sir. Go downstairs and tell Farrell he can let the tenants up now. It's all over.
Yes, sir. He should be given a piece of somebody's mind. Where does he work? Well, I don't know. He's a salesman, I think. He sells things. Yeah? What? Well, I don't know. I never asked him. He paid up 2 months' rent in advance when he moved in, so I wasn't too curious. Now, how long has he lived here? Oh, 3, 4 weeks. You know he had a phone put in? It's the only phone in the building. Besides mine, which the landlord stands good for. If a guy can afford a phone, I don't worry too much. Did you see him this morning? No, I don't budge out of my place. Not unless I have to.
I still smell a little gas in here, Captain.
Well, check that burner again.
Yes, sir.
Looks off to me.
It is.
Well, open up the oven.
Yes, sir. Well, what do you know?
Hey, that's a fine thing to keep in the oven. Papers. What is it, Sergeant?
Policy slip.
Let's see that. No wonder the guy looks like a millionaire.
Just some cash, Captain.
Hey, is all that good?
It's good.
I never saw so much money in a lump. Looks like we've got a policy drop, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Well, listen, I didn't know what the guy did. Don't hold it against me that he lived here. Tenant is a tenant until he proves himself otherwise. Coley.
Yes, sir.
Let's see what else we can find around here, Sergeant.
Yes, sir, Captain.
Give Sergeant Collins a hand.
Yes, sir.
Let's start over here. You never know about some people. Numbers game in my building. You just never know.
On discovery that the flat in which there had been a gas leak was occupied by a person in apparent violation of the gambling laws, I instructed Sergeant Collins to notify the desk officer at the 21st, who in turn would notify the office of the division commander, so that plainclothesmen responsible for the enforcement of gambling laws would be sent to the scene to investigate. As this notification was being made, a more thorough search of the premises was conducted by Patrolmen Coley and Farrow under my supervision and in the presence of the civilian witness, Philip Champisi, the superintendent of the building. In a closet were found 2 electric calculating machines and tally sheets, in addition to the policy slips and the cash.
80, 800, 20, 35, 45, 6, 7, 8, 9, 50. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Like a gold mine.
$2,857, Captain.
All right, Coley. Enter the amount in your memorandum book.
Listen.
Hey, now, here's an opportunity. Let's all go to Belmont. We could still make the daily double.
You want to sign my book, Captain?
Yeah.
Here you are, sir.
Hey, what's all the production? Are you afraid this Harrods guy might say you shortchanged him?
Well, we just don't want to give him anything to say. Farrell,
Yes, sir.
you got all that stuff together?
Yes, sir. We'll need a bushel basket for all these policy slips, Captain. Boy, this guy was running some bank.
Mr. Champisi.
Yeah. What happens to all the money?
Oh, it gets turned over to the property clerk until the court determines who's the rightful owner.
Well, listen, could you give me some consideration? You know, if I didn't put in the call, you never would have found it.
When did you say this Mr. Harrods moved in here?
Oh, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago.
And he told you he was a salesman?
Yeah, that's right.
He didn't tell you anything else?
What do you mean?
He didn't tell you what he sold?
Well, listen, I didn't know anything about him. What can I do?
Now, listen, Captain.
Are the plainclothesmen on the way, Sergeant?
Yes, sir. But one of the tenants told me he saw the girlfriend of the fellow who has this flat standing outside in the crowd.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you about his girlfriend.
Is she still there?
She was when I came up. I told Farrell to keep an eye on her.
Take charge here, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Come on, Mr. Champisi.
Yeah. Man, what a day. You live to be 100 and never see so much excitement, huh? How about a smoke, Captain?
Give me that.
Oh, I'm sorry. The gas. Excuse me, I forgot, Captain.
Well, you better remember, or you'll never get anywhere near 100. Come on, let's get downstairs. Although the flat in which the gas leak had occurred was obviously a policy drop, there was no conclusive evidence that would lead to a conviction of either Harrods or any of his associates, despite the large amount of cash discovered, the calculating machines, the policy slips, and the tally sheets. Both the policy slips and the tally sheets were from previous days' play, and it's a good idea to have evidence showing the play was made on the day of the arrest. It was my thought to keep the girlfriend of Harrods under surveillance until the plainclothesmen arrived. Then, as they thought best, they could question her, take her to the station house, or attempt to follow her in order to connect him directly with the evidence. On the way downstairs, I told the super of the building that I wanted to stand outside on the stoop and talk to him, apparently in connection with the accident. I warned him not to look in the direction of the girl, nor point to her.
All right, I'll do just like you say. Count on it, Captain.
I hope I can. Farrell.
Yes, sir.
Don't look in her direction, but which girl is it?
See the gray Plymouth coupe parked at the curb there?
Yeah.
She's standing right next to it, Captain. The blonde, about 25 years old, 5'4", has on a beige coat.
Yeah.
That's her, all right. I seen her go up to visit him time and time again.
I asked her not to look over there.
I didn't look. I just glimpsed. Just talk to me. What do you want me to talk about? Weather?
That'll do.
Well, looks like it's going to turn into a nice day after all, huh? You know, when I woke up today, looked out the window, I had my doubts. Listen, Captain, what happens to the $2,850? Does he get that back?
I told you he does if he can prove it's lawfully his.
Oh? Well, who is it you're waiting for? Detectives?
Plainclothesmen.
What's the difference? Plainclothesmen, detectives? I always thought they were the same.
No. Plainclothesmen are assigned to enforce gambling and vice laws.
Oh?
Detectives investigate all other serious crimes.
You know, I never knew that.
I suppose a lot of people don't.
Oh, you'd be surprised. You'd be very surprised.
Have you seen her here very often, Mr. Champisi?
On occasion. On several occasions.
When? Daytime or at night?
Both. But my wife, she knows everything that goes on around here. My wife says she's here all the time. Day, night, afternoon.
She's turning to go, Captain.
Yeah, I see her.
Any sign of the plainclothesman?
No, sir. What are you going to do? This is getting to be a situation.
Stay here, pal.
Yes,
You too. Excuse me, please.
sir. Yes,
Pardon me. Miss, wait a minute.
Me?
Yeah. What's your name, miss?
Who are you?
I'm a police officer.
What do you want to know my name for?
I want to know,
Gloria. Gloria Nathan.
who's your friend in that building?
What building?
618 East 75th?
I don't think I have to tell you that.
It's Al Harrods, isn't it?
No, it isn't.
Well, who is it then?
Nobody.
Well, why were you standing outside there?
Well, I was just curious. I'm entitled to be curious when there's excitement going on.
It's Al Harrods, isn't it? He's your friend.
No.
You came by to see him this morning. When you were walking down the street toward the place, you saw the police there. You were worried. You found out the gas leak was in his place.
Listen, I don't know any Al Harrods. I told you that. I was just standing there because I was curious, that's all.
Look, Gloria, you don't want to get into trouble, do you?
I won't get in trouble.
You will if you keep telling me one lie after another.
What can you do to me? You can't do anything to me.
Would you mind walking back to the building with me?
Of course I'd mind.
Well, let's walk back anyway.
I haven't done anything. I don't see why you're picking on me just because I was curious.
Well, there's a few things we want to get straightened out.
If you want to get something straightened out, that's no business of mine. What's it got to do with me?
Mr. Champese.
Person is entitled to be curious.
Call me, Cap? Yes. Is this young woman a friend of Al Harrod's?
Yeah, he's a friend of his. I seen her go up there.
That's a lie.
Plenty of times.
I never even heard of any Al Harrods.
The plainclothesman, Captain.
This is getting to be ridiculous.
You're telling him?
Hello, Captain.
Thomas, how have you been?
Fine. Understand you struck gold.
That's right.
Look, all this is well and good, but what do you want with me? I've got a right to know.
Sure, you've got a right to know. We're going to take you to the station house. One of the plainclothesmen went upstairs to take charge of the premises, while the other accompanied the young woman, Gloria Navin, and I to the station house. A policewoman was sent for to make a search of the suspect. In the meantime, Patrolman Coley and Sergeant Burns returned to the station house with the money found in the flat. This was turned over to the desk officer and entered in the blotter. In about a half hour, the policewoman arrived and made a search of the clothing and purse of the suspect. Nearly 1,000 policy slips and about $400 in cash was found on her person. While the policewoman sat nearby, Gloria was questioned in my office.
Well, now, look, you know what's going to happen to you, don't you?
No, I don't know. What?
As soon as we get through talking to you, I'm going to take you out there to the desk and book you in. Then you're going to ride down to court and talk to the judge.
They won't keep me. I've got the number of a bondsman. All I have to do is call him.
That only lets you out until the trial. What good's a bondsman going to do you after you're sentenced? You're headed straight for the house of detention. You ever been in there?
No. No, I haven't.
No, I didn't know. That's why I asked you. You know you can get a year out of this, Gloria?
No, he wouldn't be that tough. I'm never that tough in these kind of cases.
That's the captain.
It'd be a suspended sentence or a fine, maybe. You know that.
Well, I don't know. The judge is going to say to me, he's going to say that you cooperate, officer. And what can I say? All I can do is tell him the truth. All I can say is, Judge, she wasn't a bit of help. Her boyfriend had this policy drop, but there wasn't a bit of conclusive evidence up there. She had all the incriminating evidence in her possession. She wouldn't help us at all. I've seen people stand up there. They think, who you hurting making a little book or writing a few numbers tickets? They think the most they'll get out of it is a slap on the wrist, and wham, they get hit right between the eyes. And it doesn't make any difference what you think or what I think about it. Gambling is a violation of the law. The way things are, pressure's on the judges, too. They let somebody off easy in a gambling case who get criticized. They've been handing out some jolts down there. Isn't that right, Captain?
Yeah, so I hear.
He wouldn't give me a year.
You want to take the chance, it's up to you. All I can tell him is that you want a bit of help.
Supposing I want some help. I wouldn't want to do a year. It's not worth it.
Well, like I said, all I can do is tell him the truth. But it stands to reason you'd get a lot more consideration if I could tell him, for instance, that you helped us knock over a big policy bank.
He'd kill me. He'd just kill me.
Who?
Al. He beats me up for no reason at all. What would he do to me if I gave him a reason?
Well, it wasn't your fault that he was stupid enough to go away and leave the fire burning under the coffee, was
No, but he's not going to look at it that way. You don't know Al. I'd like to help you, but you know how it is.
Well, that's too bad. I'd like to help you, too. Shame we can't do anything for each other. Let's book her in, Captain. No sense wasting any more time.
Come on, Gloria. This way.
He wouldn't be that tough on me, the judge.
I can't tell you what's on the judge's mind. This way. No sense making any predictions. It all depends.
There's nothing to do but take my chances.
Stand right up to the desk, huh? I want to book her in, Sergeant.
What's the name?
Mavan. Gloria. How old are you, Gloria?
24.
Address?
321 Lewiston Avenue.
In Manhattan?
In Manhattan, yeah. Listen, the only thing I'm worried about is what he'd do to me. Al, I mean.
He couldn't do anything to you if you never saw him again. But if you're that crazy about him, what's the use of talking?
Who said I'm crazy about him?
Where were you born?
In the Bronx. Listen, I'm not going to do a year for him. That'd be crazy, wouldn't it?
That's what I've been trying to impress on you. Who's going to look out for you if you don't look out for yourself?
Any prior arrests and convictions?
One arrest, no conviction.
All right, what do you want to know? Am I a friend of Al Harrod's? Yes. Do I work for him, too? Yes. What else?
Is there any way he could have known about what happened at his place today?
Only if I called him and told him. That was the only way.
Where was he?
You know, around. Making his collections and meeting his runners. He couldn't have known. There's no way.
Where is he now?
I don't know where he is now, but I know where he'll be at 2 o'clock.
Where?
He'll be at a bar and grill in Yorkville, 736 East 85th. He meets a couple of his collectors there every day. They turn over their play in the collections to him.
In the bar?
No. He parks his car. They all got keys to the trunk. He just sits in there while they drop the play and money in the trunk of his car. When he comes out, it's all ready to drive away. He just sits in there and drinks beer. Is that what you wanted to know? I told you. You going to save me that year?
Like I said, I'll tell him the truth.
Okay. Oh, he'll get out on bond and he'll beat me up. He'll just beat the living daylights out of me.
All right, if you're worried about that, we'll see that you get protection. He won't lay a hand on you.
Listen, please worry about your own job. If Al wants to beat me up, that's between me and him.
We took Gloria back into my office, and she supplied us with all the information she was able to furnish. It was decided that Thomas's partner remain at the flat in the event Al Harrods returned there unexpectedly. At 2:45, I accompanied Thomas to the vicinity of the bar and grill on East 85th Street. Gloria could give us only a hazy description of his car, and we were unable to spot it parked on the street. A little after 3 o'clock, we walked into the bar and grill. Gloria had described Al Harrods as a short and rather heavy-set man. She said he would probably be wearing a plaid sports shirt, a type for which he had a passion. There's a fellow in a plaid shirt back there in the booth.
Al Harrods, did she say?
That's the name he used.
Al Board, Captain. I've been wondering where he was the last couple of months.
You know him, huh?
Real well. Well, hello, Al.
Oh, hi.
Stand up, Al.
Hey, listen, I'm clean.
Come on, stand up.
All right.
That's the way. I guess you are clean.
You could have taken my word for it.
You know, I was just thinking about you the other day, Al.
Oh, were you?
I sure was. This is Captain Kennelly.
Hello. How are you?
You don't mind if we sit down, do you, Al?
No. Help yourself.
Thanks.
Plenty of room. Captain, did he say? You're a cop, too?
That's right.
What have you been doing with yourself lately, Al? I haven't seen you around.
Well, you know, that last 90 days in Rikers Island cured me. And I said to myself, Al, it don't pay. Hang up. That's no hotel in the mountains over there on Rikers Island, you know. Dump the racket.
How you getting along?
Fine. Just fine.
Live around here?
No, I'm over Jersey now. Oh, what are you doing here? You still working out of this division?
That's right.
You too, Captain?
He's commander of the 21st Precinct.
No kidding.
Captain, this Al is an example of how a good boy can turn out to be an honest citizen. You stick him a couple of times, and he learns the racket doesn't pay. You're living in Jersey,
Yeah, that's right.
You working?
Oh, yeah. I'm breaking my back every day. Working for my wife's brother over there. He's got a poultry business.
You don't say.
Yeah, up the crack of dawn every day.
Well, what are you doing in the big city?
Oh, just came over to see a fella, friend of mine. You want something, Captain? I'll get the girl over.
No, thanks.
So I cured you, huh?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm walking that tightrope now. I'm on a square, and I love it.
Well, didn't I tell you? You wouldn't believe me.
Well, I believe you now, Mr. Thomas. I'll never forget you.
Won't you, Al?
No, sir.
You know, I've been a long time in this job, Al. It's not many guys you run into who can make you feel that you accomplished something. You make me feel that way, Al, and I appreciate it.
I appreciate it, too, Mr. Thomas.
Captain, this guy's made my day. You wouldn't kid me, Al.
Well, would I lie to you, Mr. Thomas?
No, Al, I don't believe you would.
No, not me, brother. I learned. That's for the birds. Well, I gotta go.
It's nice to see you, Al.
Yeah.
Just a second, Al. We're going too.
Oh.
Captain, if I know this guy, I'll bet you he's hustling policy slips across the river in Jersey.
I'm telling you, I'm out of it. Since I finished that bit on Rikers Island, I'm out of it. After you, Captain.
Thanks.
I mean, maybe I play the numbers once in a while.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's not so bad.
But book 'em? Not me, brother. I had my stomach full of that. That's for the birds. Well, here's my car.
Yeah, it sure is for the birds, Al. And you're a vulture with a 20-foot wingspread.
Yeah.
All right. Open up the trunk of your car.
I don't know. What's going on?
Go on, open it up.
Al, we hit your place on 75th Street. We got you $2,800 in cash and a go-kart full of policy slips.
Put the key in.
Well, what are you stringing me along for, 20-foot wingspread?
You were stringing yourself along, Al.
Oh, you could be frank.
Well, look. Another gold mine, Captain.
It's mental cruelty let me think I conned you out of it.
All right, close it up. Be careful, Thomas. Watch that he doesn't fly away. He's a bird.
21st Precinct, Sergeant Collins. Where's this? 3361. How was he shot? How many hold-up men? Just one. Which way?
And so it goes, around the clock, through the week, every day, every year. A police precinct in the city of New York is a flesh and blood merry-go-round. Anyone can catch the brass ring, or the brass ring can catch anyone.
21st Precinct, a factual account of the way the police work in the world's largest city, is presented with the official cooperation of the Patrolmen's Benevolent Association, an organization of more than 20,000 members of the Police Department, City of New York. Everett Sloan in the role of Captain Kennelly. Featured in tonight's cast were Mandel Kramer, Bill Quinn, Bill Lipton, Joan Loring, Bill Zuckert, John Sylvester, and Jack Orison. Written and directed by Stanley Niss. Produced for CBS Radio by John Ives. Art Hanna speaking.